Hi, it's Penny here, and today I wanted to share with you my top 10 graphic novels or graphic type things that I read in the year of 2023. And of course, this being me, they are going to be mostly fantasy focused. There is one that I think is horror, but isn't horror, just scary fantasy. Kind of. So firstly, at number 10, we're going to have Mothkeeper by Kay O'Neill. So Kay O'Neill is the writer and artist who made the Tea Dragon Society books, as well as Dewdrop and Aquacorn Cove. And Mothkeeper was their latest release. This is about this person who is an apprentice moth keeper, where basically at night you have to go out and keep the moths safe and look after the moths, but it does mean a lot of time spent alone, and we're really just following along with this young person as they struggle with the loneliness of this role that they've taken on, but also the beauty of the role as well. As usual, Kay O'Neill's art is adorable, and the story as well, adorable. I do wish there had been a little bit more to it, but I also think that the target market of these is a little bit younger than me, so just like a good wholesome time. Then at number 9, we've got The Mermaid and the Shoe by K.G. Campbell. I will say, I think maybe I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I just said for Mothkeeper I wanted more to it. The Mermaid and the Shoe definitely does not have more to it. This is just a really basic story about this one mermaid. All her other mermaid sisters have these amazing skills, and she's just kind of curious. And then she finds this shoe and decides to go and find out what it is. And I just thought it was adorable with a really good message, and I really liked it. But a super quick read because it's just a little short children's book. Okay, now we'll get into ones that are a little bit more substantial. So at number 8, we've got Tombs by Junji Ito. So Junji Ito is a horror manga artist, and this is a short story anthology of his little horror stories. He's really good at just making things so cringeworthy, like body horror, awful creature kind of things that just make you cringe, and this had some really good moments that fit that feeling. As well, he's really good at like setting up a concept that seems kind of ick and then just taking it to a whole nother level. I really think this, especially though, was the best Junji Ito short story anthology that I've read. Although most of the stories are so short that it's hard to really give much of a synopsis without giving spoilers for the different stories. I will say the title story, Tombs, is about this brother and sister that go and visit their friend who lives in this town where all these random tombs have started appearing. And again, just as that escalates, it's absolutely terrifying, and I loved it. Then at number 7, we have Blackbird by Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel. So I have loved Jen Bartel's art for quite a long time, and I've been meaning to get to this for a while. I will say the saddest thing about this is it's a volume 1 and there's never been any more released, and I don't think there's plans to have any more released, even though I think this is a really great setup for a bigger series, and a lot of this first volume is really just introducing this new world, and I really wish more was going to be done with it because I think it has so much potential. So basically we're following this young girl who happens to have my dream blue hair, and she's dealing with a lot of trauma from something that happened when she was younger and kind of learning more about that event, while also in the future learning more about kind of this secret underground magical society. There are a few bits in the story where the storytelling's a little bit clunky, but I also thought there was quite a good emotional journey, and as I said, the art is spectacular. Then at number 6, we have The Highest House by Mike Carey and Peter Gross. So this is one which had such an in-depth story, and to me it felt so much like a normal fantasy type novel that I would have read, but in graphic form. So even though the art wasn't my favorite, the story felt like it had so much to it. Basically, we're following this young slave boy right from when his mother sells him into slavery because she's desperate, and then kind of him joining this lord's household and how he finds a place there. But also there's kind of this magical background to things, and a whole bunch of politics actually happening in the background through the messages he has to send, or like just the Lord having conversations in the background of the slave story. So I really liked how the world building was done in that way. There is also this magical creature that he ends up making a deal with. This is another one though where I'm really frustrated because the first story does have a story that kind of stands alone, but at the end it says end of part 1, and as far as I can tell, there's never been any more released. Maybe one day. Now I'm looking at my top 5 and I'm thinking, did I get the order right? I think you can just accept that these could all go in a different order depending on how I was feeling. But firstly, at number 5, we have Lightfall by Tim Probert. So this is a story about this young girl and her adopted grandfather, who's also a pig wizard. He goes off and goes missing. She ends up pairing up with this Galdurian, who was like a previously assumed extinct ancient race, and they go off looking for her pig wizard grandfather, and then they get involved in this much more magical quest to kind of save the world. This is one where the art was beautiful, and there is also quite a lot to the story, as well as it being like just really wholesome and beautiful and magical, and I really loved it. The 3rd volume is coming out in 2024 and I'm so excited for it because I think this is going to be just such a great series. Then at number 4 we have Unfamiliar by Hayley Newsome. So this one we are following just a bunch of witchy girls who become friends. The first one we meet is like a cooking witch. She moves to a new town and unfortunately her house is haunted by these ghosts, so she goes and finds these other witches to help her out with that. And in the first volume we have a bit of a murder mystery going on. In the second one I think we're still dealing with those ghosts a little bit, but we also get the fairy king and more of this curse that one of the witchy girls has on them. But I just think these are like quite a nice balance of being really cute but also kind of dark and creepy, kind of funny and lighthearted. I like some really humorous panels, but also it's dealing with some deeper themes, but it never gets too serious. Anyway, I just love this one. Again, wholesome, cute, adorable. Adorable is the word I've been using in this video. Just a really lovely time. Then at number 3 we have The Many Deaths of Lila Starr by Philippe Andrade and Ram V. So this is a story where a child has been born who's going to invent immortality, and so death, the god of death, loses their job and then basically ends up reborn into the world at different times, where they then attempt to kill off this person that's going to invent immortality so that then they can get their job back. But I just thought the art in this was so beautiful, as well as being possibly the most well-written graphic novel I've ever read. Like, I just thought the writing was beautiful and the story was so deep and meaningful, like a lot in there about the purpose of life and the meaning of death, and just, I really loved it. I'm now questioning why I didn't put this at number 1, but the other 2 on this list are also very good. So number 2 we have Nimona. This is one that probably a lot of people have already read. I only just got to it. So basically we have Nimona, who is a shapeshifter, and she turns up at the supervillain's lair and says, hey, I'd like to be your sidekick. Now he really doesn't want her to be his sidekick. He's not interested in a sidekick, but they form this unlikely friendship, and we also learn a lot kind of about this supervillain's past and his relationship with this other knight and this bigger organization that the knight works for, as well as going on like quite an emotional journey with all the different characters. I think at first this just came across as like a really fun story with a slightly different take on the whole superhero supervillain thing, but then I think the plot went in a really interesting direction, and I just had so much fun with this, while also I think getting quite a lot out of it emotionally, and I can see why so many people love this. Then at number 1 I'm putting Cucumber Quest by Gigi DG. So this is an unfortunate one because this series is another one where it's not finished, and possibly it never will be. It's been on hiatus now for quite a few years in the webcomic form. But the first 4 chapters were released in book form. The first volume especially, I just found it so adorable and humorous. Like, the humor is so wholesome and just made me laugh out loud so many times. Just made me feel really happy. Basically we're following these cute rabbits. The boy Cucumber, he really just wants to go to magic school and learn how to do magic so he can make the world a better place. However, then his dad turns up and says, no, you need to go on a quest to save the kingdom. And he's like, well, that's not really my thing. However, my sister Almond, she really loves that kind of thing, like sword fighting and quests and battles. So maybe Almond could do the quest and I could go to magic school. And his dad is like, nope, that's not happening. So Cucumber and Almond does end up going along. They go off on this quest where they meet all sorts of other friends along the way. They go to different kingdoms, each of which has a different theme. And each chapter also has kind of this big bad boss type character, but there's also some nice twists on the typical story of these bad guys and why they're doing what they're doing, and just like Actually, I think one of my favorite parts in this series is at the end of every chapter, she does like a Q&A where readers can ask the characters questions, and it just made the characters feel like so well developed, and I ended up loving them so much. Like, just the cutest thing I've ever read. Even though I will admit in some of the later volumes the storytelling gets a bit fractured and the plot feels quite jumpy, and sometimes the art maybe isn't quite as good, but most of the time it's still beautiful, the characters are adorable, and it made me laugh multiple times. And maybe if enough people buy the books, they'll be motivated to continue the series, so maybe you should do that. Anyway, that was the best graphic novels that I read during the year of 2023. Let me know if you've read any of these, because I'd love to chat with you about them down in the comments, or let me know if there's any other graphic type things that you think I might like, or ones that you particularly enjoyed last year. And do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.